Hello, and welcome to Bless Their Yap. I'm your Reverend host, Olivia. Join me and my patron saint, Marianne, as we dive each week into the Gen Z Holy Text, a notes app. Every week, we are each tasked to write down topics in our notes app, and then we yap. Marianne, go, diva.
Okay. Well, first of all, new mic alert.
I know,
I
like,
realized
she's the
I realized how
same.
bad my audio
She's
sounded because
official.
I was just using the mic from my AirPods, and that was so bad. So, yeah, I got a new mic.
I know.
But, okay, yeah, this week's topic, I wrote it down as well. This week's topic basically came up because I watched a YouTube video, which is where most of my topics come from,
We love you too.
either social media or YouTube, where basically it was this person talking about how local coffee shops are ridiculously expensive and really terrible quality. So that kind of made me ask the question, okay, well, in this economy right now, which is an economy where people are
Doo-doo.
struggling with like yeah, literally, it's
I'm
very
sorry.
bad. People are struggling to pay for regular everyday expenses. Rent is astronomical, groceries are insane, etcetera, etcetera. Whether or not small businesses are at their current price point too high, or are they just adhering to a specific demographic of people, and because there are so many small businesses that are kind of targeting, like, more rich people, that's kind of why they're failing most of the time,
Yeah.
because there's not enough rich people to purchase their products. So, it's a huge topic,
Yeah.
but,
But
yeah,
it's so
that's kind of
good.
my
Ah. Yeah, so I my, personal history with small businesses and, small coffee shop businesses too, especially. I'm from a very rural, originally hometown grown from a very, rural part of Arizona, but it's also a very, I would say, it's a very, people from Phoenix come up to there in the summer to, spend the summers to get away from the heat. It's very touristy, I would say. And there's a lot of coffee shops kinda sprung up while I was, growing up there. And I would say, a lot of them were, around $5 to start off with. Some of them were a little bit more, and it definitely depended on the location of it too. There was, the richer side of the city and the poorer side of the city. In the richer side, you were probably gonna spend, $12 on a cup of coffee or something like
right,
that. And then for college, I lived in, a college town that was also super touristy and, cause it was, on the way to the Grand Canyon. I feel like I'm doxing what school I went to if I say that, but, that's
You've
I
already
guess
said you lived in Arizona, so
yeah,
it's fine.
it's just kind of what it is. I suppose it was Flagstaff. And I actually worked for a small business, and it was, this small boutique and, it had, clothes and, little bric-a-brac and, stuff like that, and it was so fucking expensive for stuff that I feel like was, drop shipped, you know what I mean? Super cheap stuff,
Right.
and I think I don't wanna be like, "Oh, every small business is evil," because I don't think that's necessarily true or, that they're, just, lying about it. I think especially if you're, making the items, you know what I mean? The small businesses,
Yeah.
make makeup or something, like a small business makeup brand or, a small I'm trying to I can think of, a specific TikTok that I saw about, this guy that runs, like a self-tanner company that's, a small Etsy
Right.
shop, and he charges a lot for it, which is fine. I think that's different because 'cause you're physically making the item yourself,
Yes.
but when I worked at this small business, I remember being like, "I don't know about this one dog." Like,
Yeah.
you know what I
I
mean?
that's the thing, I feel like based on, the all of the TikToks that were in the video and, like, I watched a couple of other videos and more TikToks, and, like, reels and everything that were also in that, it seems like people have the perception that a lot of small businesses are basically just gathering items from HomeSense or
They're drop
Michaels or, like,
shipping.
drop shipped items
Yeah.
and then marking them up because they have, brick and mortar pricing or, like, they're in a
Yeah.
touristy area or whatever it is, but, like, the quality of the products aren't necessarily there, and
No,
that's kind of
yeah.
where it takes me back to, like, the coffee shop where, coffee there is such thing as, like, artisanal coffee and, like,
Yeah,
very
whatever.
good beans and all
Yeah,
these things,
whatever.
right? But in the end, coffee isn't necessarily the most expensive item to make.
Also, if you're not, like, if you're not being like, "We've harvested these, like, sustainably and ethically," like, if y'all are just buying cheap, beans that we all kind of know were, like, made off of, like, slave labor, essentially,
Exactly.
like, why are you charging so much, diva, just because you have a brick and mortar store?
So that's
And
the
it's not to say, like,
thing.
rent isn't crazy for spaces either, like, I don't own a business, but I actually just talked to my employer about this because we were just, like, chatting, and he was talking about the, like, price of his space and how much that's, like, quadrupled since, like, when he bought it in the '80s. So, that is, like, a real thing, but I just feel like there's something kind of up with these small
So
businesses.
that's the thing. I feel like people feels like they are pricing, as in small businesses are pricing their, items at a point where, like, their margin of profit is just very high, right?
Yeah.
So the thing that they're, you know, either shipped in or created or whatever, I feel like handmade stuff is a different separate conversation, but, the things that, you know, they're drop shipping maybe cost them if they're getting it bulk on, like, AliExpress or something, then it will cost them, you know, a dollar per item or something, and then they could potentially be selling them at $15, right? Which is a crazy margin. Um, but I don't know if that's necessarily the case because they do have a lot of overhead, right? They have the employees, labor is extremely expensive in the US and Canada, for good reason, right?
Yeah.
We want to support people making money so that
Real.
they can
When I
support
worked at this
themselves.
small business though, I will say, and this was I think this was just on this business just because it was actually
Mhm.
run by an actual demon from hell. Breezy, also a shout friend of the pod, Breeze, who gets mentioned every single episode.
Shout out
R.I.P.
Breeze.
Breeze. Shout out to Breezy. She also worked at this business and unfortunately, because of me, and I have to live with that until I die. And this employer would hire exclusively, like, college-age girls or girls in college. I remember I worked, like, 12 hours a week at one point, and I was paying my own phone bill, rent, and everything, and, like, my own tuition. And I told her, I was like, "I can't, like, live off this job, diva. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing?" And so, like, for her and that business, there was definitely, like, a manipulation for how little labor you could get if you just, like, think smart about it. And that's, like, exclusively, like, this one, I think, like, she just pulled shit that I felt like was really weird, you know what
Mm,
I mean? And I also think with those conversations with this specific boutique in mind that I used to work at, and then also, like, some of the coffee shops in my hometown, I do feel like their target audience says a lot, at least, like, in my scenarios, because I lived in areas that were very touristy, but also very second home-y,
mhm.
where it was a much older clientele with a lot more disposable income. You living in a city most of your life, I would like to know where that's different, where it's, like, smaller and, like, a little bit more of a younger crowd, but I feel like that's why, like, in those cities, stuff was so expensive if it was small business, is because they were like, "We can milk these, like, 65-year-old white ladies off of everything that they're worth, off a tchotchke with an AI corgi on it." Mm.
Yeah. So, for me, living in a city I lived in Toronto for about 5 years, 5, 6 years. There were a lot of small businesses. Restaurants are a different story, so I'm not gonna talk about
Yeah,
restaurants. I'm
that's
gonna
different.
talk about more so the clothes, you know, plushies, that kinda stuff, like tangible things rather than something that you consume, like, food-wise. And then I'll also talk about coffee shops because I feel like they're a specific case because their margins are just so much
Yeah.
higher than, like, a regular restaurant would be.
Yeah.
But, for, you know, the more tangible products, I feel like a lot of times for those, shops, they would be open for a while and then almost in about a year basically close
Clothes.
because a rent, I assume, in Toronto is gonna be ridiculously expensive, but they're also pricing their items very, very high to make up for that. So, in my head, I'm wondering what like, it's basically the chicken or egg kind of situation of if they were to price their products lower, would they be able to sell more and then basically make up for it? Or would it just not, would people, no matter what the price is, would it not actually have an effect on sales? Because essentially you're thinking of it, if I price something at $20, let's say I price a plushie at $20, right? The amount of people that are going to be buying that plushie, if you get the foot traffic in the door in the first place, is probably not very high, right? Like a plushie, realistically, you're gonna wanna spend like $8 to $10, maybe 12 if
Yeah,
it's like extremely cute, if they have not made it themselves, right?
yeah.
If it's like something that is handmade,
Crochet,
that is a
yeah, like
different,
very cute.
yeah, crocheted, that's
Even
a
if it's
different
like an
story.
existing sorry. I've seen just a lot of, like, Etsy shops because I love plushies and I love dolls. And I've seen a lot of people online that, like, will take, like, existing plushies. So, like, say you have, like, a Beanie Baby, and they will, like, do shit where they, like, sew, like, multiple heads together or add, like, several eyes. They'll kinda make, like, little creatures or even, like, little
Mhm.
taxidermy art based off of, like, Beanie Babies. And I think that's okay to charge because 'cause you're doing shit to that, right? I feel the exact same way about, like, Depop and stuff like that. Um where, like, you can charge more if you're doing shit to the thing that you've bought for really cheap, but if you're not, like, fuck
That's the
you.
thing. If it's in my opinion, and this might be wrong, I would love to hear other people's opinion, but if you can find the exact same item on like, genuinely exact same on Amazon or on AliExpress,
Express.
then, like, it's
Then
difficult
what do we do?
for me to say it is worth it to purchase it at a much higher cost because it's a small business.
Exactly,
Like,
and the
ideally,
say,
we
like,
would all
shop
be able.
local are kind
Exactly.
of a way to, like, deal because then price lower. That's
Exactly. Like,
sustainable for
that's the
people
thing.
here.
That's the thing. Right now in this economy, and even, like, in any economy, people make decisions based on pricing, right?
Yeah.
Um, so when you are faced with one store versus another, regardless of where it is, regardless of, being a small business or not, it will come down to pricing, all else equal. Um, but when you have a small business and a conglomerate like Amazon selling the exact same product, basically getting it from the exact same factory and wherever it's being made, it doesn't make sense. Even if you did have the disposable income to purchase the more expensive item, it doesn't make sense to purchase that.
No. No, and, like, again, I think now when I worked at this boutique, it was a lot like it was, like, 2021 through, like, 2022, so it was a lot closer to COVID, and I think a lot of people like, I just remember in, like, these small towns that I was in, a lot of, like, shop local, eat local, like, sort of a really big push to, like, save these local businesses that were at risk of closing because of COVID, and I agree with that, but again, like, the sentiment I think should be, like, these small businesses also shouldn't be catering to, like, tourist clientele, right? To clientele with a lot of disposable income. If you want me to believe that you really wanna be a part of the community, you should be
Exactly.
representing your community, and if your community doesn't have a lot of money, you should be thinking about that. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
No, that I feel like that makes total sense because a lot of times I think small businesses pigeonhole themselves into, okay, I want to make, obviously everybody wants to make as much money as possible, but you have to do genuine like demographic work to determine whether or not you have the clientele to support your business at
Yeah.
the price point that it currently is at, right?
Yeah.
So if you are pricing things in like a really small town that doesn't have a lot of people, it doesn't have a lot of, foot traffic, etc., if you're pricing it low because that's what the average income is in that space, then yeah, it makes sense for you to do that. If you're pricing it high, the likelihood of you surviving is quite low, especially if you don't have a consistent, I guess, viral online presence and things like that,
Yeah,
or
it's
if
a
you
lot of
don't have,
marketing.
it's gonna be a lot of marketing that you're gonna have to do, which is even more money that you're sinking into it, right? So, there's just so much that goes into, being a small business and surviving. I feel like I don't know, maybe it's because I'm just getting bombarded with all of these ads on YouTube because I watch a lot of YouTube about, start your small business on what is it, Shopify and blah blah
Shopify,
blah.
yeah.
But it's kind of ridiculous to for them, and this is a different conversation, but it's kind of ridiculous for them to be selling this idea of a small business can be made easy when there is so much that goes into
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
know, and
But
I agree because I think because I was gonna say, like, yeah, like, this is so true, but I also think there is sort of, like, a really interesting and maybe this is just big because, like, not that many people, like, actually go out and, like, brick and mortar shopping anymore, but I do feel like a lot of, like, small businesses that I see, and I don't mean, like, quote, "small businesses" like that because these are genuine small businesses, are, like, on sites like Etsy or Shopify or Depop, I guess, or, like, they'll have, like, their own, like, site. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like not that
yeah,
many of them are actual brick and mortar stores, but also those ones that I'm thinking of are, again, like, they're making something typically or, again, like the spray tan guy or, like, I have a lip stain from, like, a small business on Etsy and I believe it's pronounced Sushi Glow. I thought it was pronounced Slushy Glow, but I was wrong. I just can't read 'cause I'm illiterate. It's really nice, check them out. But, um, I do wonder if, like, stuff like Shopify has kind of ruined that because I believe they charge something too, right? Shopify, if you, like you have to, like,
I'm
pay them
sure.
for something, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
If
Yeah,
anybody knows who's smarter than us, share below,
yeah.
educate. That's
But yeah.
interesting. Mm.
Yeah, I'm just curious, and the people that are listening, feel free to comment what you think because I'm genuinely curious. Do you think the wealthier should be trying to purchase more locally because they have a duty to society to keep small businesses alive? Or do you think they also should have the autonomy to choose the lower priced option, as much as
Yeah,
non-wealthy people do?
and
And
I
I feel like that's a very nuanced question.
no, that's a super nuanced question. I also think I kinda wanna add to that question for, like, our listeners, like, um, if they feel like it is, like, kind of a chicken or the egg problem, right? If you have a small business, listeners, like, share your experience with us, like, we don't know. I don't own a small business.
Yeah.
Um
I genuinely would love to know
Yeah,
what
I would love to know, like,
thought
what your
process it
actual
goes through.
struggles are. I only know the evil of, like, the one store that I worked at and went, "Wow, that fucking sucks." Like, "Hey." Um, and, like, I also wanna know, like, do we feel like there's a big push for, like, small businesses? Right now I live in a big city and, like, I don't know, like, a lot of small businesses around me other than, like, restaurants and shit.
Mhm.
Which I do think is an entirely different animal, but, like, I don't know, like, any, like, small boutiques near me, right? And I do wonder, like, should they be catering more to, like, the locals and not tourists? But are you gonna cater to tourists because 'cause they're more likely to spend money? Like
Is it That's the thing, is it even viable to do that? Is that why your area doesn't have, like, that many
yeah,
small businesses?
I don't
Yeah.
know
So
shit who's coming to Arizona. I wouldn't either, goddamn.
yeah, that's fair, that's fair. At this point, I do
Um,
love Arizona, but
we love
womp
you
womp.
though. Thank you, Arizona's
Womp
one
womp
and only fan,
US.
Marianne.
Yeah, literally, I'm the only fan. Um, I was gonna say, just quickly before moving on to your topic, Olivia, I wanna say in terms of coffee shops, um, the sentiment that I've gotten from, the internet about coffee shops is they're ridiculously overpriced for what they actually are because 'cause you're getting, like, a regular mediocre, cup of coffee. I asked this
Yeah,
question to my friends yesterday as well, specifically about coffee shops, and they were like, "Yeah, like, the type of coffee that you get at
it's
a
not as good.
coffee shop that you go into in a city is average, right? They're
Yeah.
basically all the same. It's very rare that they're not like, that it's gonna be this mind-blowing cup of
No,
coffee,
and there's
and
been a
yet they're
couple where I'm like, "Damn, Starbucks is kinda better than this for, like,
yeah,
the same
exactly,
price." It
exactly,
sucks.
which is insane because I remember when I first started having coffee, like, and would go out in elementary school to, like, the local
Dude.
Starbucks after school or whatever, I would be like, "Oh my god, this is so expensive." Like, it would be a very rare occasion that I go
Yeah.
to Starbucks, but then, other coffee shops started getting to like, towards the same price. We have Tim Hortons here, um, which I'm sure people know about, but basically it's like, pseudo-Canadian coffee shop because it's now owned by a Brazilian company, which
Oh,
is it's
interesting.
fine.
Kind of
But
like
the
Dunkin'
quality
Donuts is what I would say.
yeah,
But,
it's kinda like a Dunkin'
it's an
Donuts.
it's above, like, gas station coffee, like, it's not quite like
Correct.
Quick Trip, but I would say it doesn't have, like, the same atmosphere as, like, Starbucks, you know what I mean?
Yes, it's less posh than Starbucks is, or like a local coffee shop
Yeah,
would want to make itself, right?
yeah.
So, the quality at Tim Hortons is really bad. Then you go up a rung. So you have like okay, in terms of coffee shop uh rankings,
I'm
you have
coffee
yeah, you
yeah.
have gas station, then Tim Hortons/Dunkin', then like a Starbucks type or sorry, then a McDonald's, because the quality of McDonald's coffee is actually pretty solid.
Dollar McDonald's
Then
coffee.
yeah, exactly, and it's cheap, exactly. So, like, the quality for dollar that you're getting is great. Then you have a Starbucks, then you have question mark? Like, that should be local coffee shops.
Yeah.
However, because the quality is very similar to that of, like, maybe in between McDonald's and Starbucks, or maybe sometimes even in between, like, the Dunkin', Tim Hortons, and McDonald's, like, that kind of area, are you basically just paying for, obviously, labor, but also maybe the vibes that
That's
they're
what I was gonna say.
creating?
I was just gonna say, like, because Starbucks, I've noticed in my, like, 20, almost 7 years of being alive, like, I feel like the vibes of Starbucks, like, going into a physical Starbucks location has really changed. When I was, like, a little baboo and I was going with my birth dad to Starbucks, I feel like it was very, like, low lighting, like, you kind of, like it was kinda like a Panera do you guys have Panera?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good, I was
Yep,
good,
yep.
good, good. Like, Panera kind of wants you to, like, stay and, like, utilize the space as well as getting food, and I feel like Starbucks back in, like, the early aughts, and even, like, the 2010s was kinda like that, but I feel like it kinda shifted into, like, being which I'm assuming, like, most fast food places do this, where it's like I learned on this, like, work trip that I went on a lot of interesting stuff about how, like, places like McDonald's, like, angle seats a certain way so that way they're not comfortable and you'll just get in and get out, and that way
Oh.
they're just getting, like, people food, but it's getting really fast. And I kind of feel like Starbucks has kind of started doing that where it's like there's a lot less prioritization on seating and
Yes.
spending time there and a lot more on, like, getting in, getting out. And I feel like that is something that a lot of local coffee shops offer is like a vibe. Like in my hometown, I would always go to like very specific coffee shops with like and again, I think part of it was like there was just a mad turnover rate as well with like these
Mm.
small coffee shops. But like I would always hang out at like very specific coffee shops with like my friends. And, like, we would just stay for, like, hours and hours, and I also think there's something to, like, the vibe base of it all, which I do wonder if that ties in with gentrification. I don't know,
Mm.
and I would love to, like, see what you think on that, but I'm thinking of, like, a coffee shop with, like, a fake, like, plant wall and a neon sign that, like,
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
serves as, like, an Instagram sort of vibe moment.
Yeah.
And I do have
I know
to say
exactly what
I'm
you're
just
talking about.
paying for that, like, 'cause I think same with, like, boba tea
Right.
places do that a lot, and again, I do wonder if that's, like, also a part of, like, gentrification, and if, like, these small businesses that do that maybe also are contributing to, like, a gentrification of some sort.
I think I I think that's the thing for gentrification specifically. The reason it's happening is because you have businesses who see a location as this up and coming place
Yeah.
and start moving in there, which make the, area more attractive or whatever, supposedly
Yeah.
more attractive, and price people out of that market. And then, it's just kind of this loop of
It's like the snake that eats its own tail, essentially.
no, exactly, exactly. So I think having a local coffee shop in your neighborhood doesn't mean that your neighborhood is gentrified, but I think that
I think when it gets a
having an
neon sign, you're
excess
heading that way.
yeah, like having an excess of these trendier type of coffee shops, that seem to be empty all the time, maybe your area is getting a little bit
Yeah.
gentrified.
RIP to the one boba tea place that opened in my hometown in, like, 2016 that was only open for a year.
Womp.
And
Oh, that sucks.
and that's because the people of rural Arizona could not appreciate boba tea like I was appreciating boba
Like, you appreciated it. That's so funny.
'cause now I know that would do numbers. It was right by
For
the
real.
high school, that would have done numbers. I don't
Yeah, that's
remember
so
what it's
true.
called.
Yeah, I'm curious, what is your topic?
So my topic, I've also been watching a lot of YouTube lately. That's how I like usually like when I'm at work, I like to listen to like YouTube videos while I'm working. To kind it kind of like helps me like pass the time. But I've been really on this kick of this one channel that talks about cartoons. And I was watching like this YouTube video and they were talking like the I'm just gonna name the channel, it's Tunerific to Read. Everybody check that out. He's really good. He's very smart, very funny. Um and he talks a lot about, like, cartoons that impacted him as a kid, and so I wanna know, like, Marianne, like, what children's media did you watch a lot that you feel like has, like not that you really liked or that you couldn't put down, but, like, that has deeply, like, impacted the person that you are today?
That's such an easy answer for
Oh my
me.
god, slay.
So, for me, it was Kim Possible on Disney
Really?
Channel. Yeah, I loved Kim Possible. I'm originally from Venezuela. I lived in Venezuela until I was about 6, and then I moved to Canada. So I learned the Kim Possible theme song in Spanish, and then
Oh.
I moved here, and then it helped me learn English, and that show helped me learn English. And I love how it was a show with a protagonist that basically saved herself and saved others.
Yeah.
And it was a female protagonist that did that. I feel like it's definitely subconsciously perhaps shaped kind of who I am in terms of being very head not I wouldn't say headstrong, but very I
No.
know what my opinion is and
Yeah,
I
you're
know.
very sure of yourself, I would
Yes,
say,
yeah,
and I
and I feel
think
like
Impossible was very sure of herself too.
I agree, and that's the thing, I really loved Kim Possible as a kid because she was sure of herself, she was a cheerleader, she was,
She was very
popular,
feminine too for being, like,
very
a very
feminine.
especially, like, in that era, I feel like a lot of, like, kids shows that were and I feel like that was something very interesting about the early 2000s was that there was kind of a handful of kid shows that, like, were girl-centric, but, like, they weren't trivial, if you know what I mean? Like or, like, they
Yeah,
didn't ever they were, like, always, like, secret agents or, like, superheroes or something, but then they also didn't ever give up their femininity, and I think that's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah, Totally Spies is another
I
one,
loved that was
that I
yeah,
loved,
no fucking say. How
love
dare.
Totally
I
Spies.
loved Totally
I
Oh
loved
my
that
god.
every episode they had a new, like, makeup related thing or, like, a very, like, girly product that would turn into, like, this, like, murder machine or whatever.
I still so there's a joke because I was born in 1989, there was a Blockbuster, like, kind of down the street from me for, like, a few years, not very long, but, like
Wait, you were 1989?
99.
99, okay, I was
Oh,
gonna say,
lol.
you would be so much older than
Old.
me right.
No, I was born in 1999. But there's a Blockbuster down the street, and my birth dad and I would, like, every Friday go to it and, like, pick out a Ben& and Jerry's ice cream, and then I would pick out, like, a DVD or some shit. And I think we ended up stealing some of them because I definitely had too many to, like, where I was like,
Oh,
"This is, like, a random ass DVD, and I don't know where I got it." But I had a Totally Spies DVD, and there's, like, a joke where they have, like, a mascara that's, like, a staff or something, and the blonde one goes, "Ugh, oozing and clumping, mighty fine my butt," and, like, I, like, viscerally remember that, and I think about it every time I put on mascara, is oozing and clumping, mighty fine my butt.
That's so insane.
I remember
Yeah,
that
I
shit.
loved. It's interesting because 'cause I'm not a huge fan of, like, animated shows now
Yeah,
or animated media now, but as a kid, I loved a cartoon.
loved it.
Yeah.
I know a lot of
Mhm.
people were, like, Nickelodeon babies or a lot more, like, Disney Channel babies, like Micah, my husband was a big Disney Channel baby, I was a big
So was
Cartoon
I.
Network baby. I loved Cartoon Network.
I feel like you would. I feel
I
like
loved
that honestly makes a lot of sense.
and
That
I
at yeah. That makes
I
sense.
missed out on a lot of, like, cultural, like, icons, like, I missed out on Harry Potter, and I didn't even really watch I liked Hannah Montana.
'Cause you were watching Danny Phantom.
Yeah, no, because I was like, "Why would I wanna watch some, like, live action shit? Why do I wanna watch real people? I wanna watch Ed and Eddie. Why would I do that when Teen Titans is on?" Which is I think my cultural show that really impacted
Okay.
me as a kid was Teen Titans.
Didn't that come out much later, though?
No, okay, so no. So there's you're thinking of Teen Titans Go, which is different. Teen
Okay.
Titans Go, um, is kind of, it's not quite like a remake. So Teen Titans is based off of, I'm gonna get like my nerd hat on. Hang on. I'm gonna get like in position. Yeah, literally. So Teen Titans is based off of the DC Comics because Cartoon Network is owned by Warner Brothers, who owns DC Comics. Whole shebang. So Cartoon Network makes a Teen Titans TV show. This is the TV show I'm talking about. It's kind of like anime adjacent. It features homeboy Robin, who was my first crush. Loved him. Starfire, who I was obsessed with. Beast Boy, Cyborg, and Raven, off Queen, who I was like, she was my Halloween costume 2 years in a row because my mom wouldn't
Love.
let me have the Starfire one. And that ran, I want to say, till like 2008. I don't know, but I know it was crushed and destroyed when it ended, and it was replaced by Young Justice, which is different. Then, and like I want to say 2012 maybe, Teen Titans Go comes out, and it's kind of like a goofier, like younger, cartoonier
Yeah.
version of those same characters from the OG show. It's a lot less serious. It's actually really cute. They have a really good movie. People online get really mad about Teen Titans Go because they herald like the OG Teen Titans as like God, and it's good, but it was also kind of goofy.
Mhm.
But yeah, it really shaped like how I viewed storytelling. It also shaped how I view art. I like to draw a lot and I'm really into like character design. And I was just really into superheroes as a kid. I really liked Super Friends and Justice League. Wonder Woman is actually my favorite like comfort character. Like that is a character I'm very attached to, despite never reading a comic book in my life. um and Teen Titans, like, essentially taught me how to draw anime, which sort of, like, led me onto the path that I do now. And also on top of that, I'm gonna mention Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Ah, yes.
But I didn't encounter Avatar: The Last Airbender until I was a little bit older, like, around
Same.
12, when it was ending because they were going to make Korra in after it. And this is so sappy and lame. My birth dad, died in 2012, and that's when I got really into Avatar: The Last Airbender. And I always kind of accredit like that show of like really helping me with my no, don't cry. I'm so sad. With my dad's death, as well as like really getting me into art. Um, I also had a really big crush on Zuko, like every other fucking girl.
He's just so he's like such a good like
Such a good first
first crush.
crush.
Yeah. He's just so stupid, but also like
No. He's
adorable.
edgy and he
Yeah.
hates his dad and he has dark hair. What more could you ask for when I was 11? Yeah, and I think both of those really, which I think are kind of similar in terms of like looks. I think those both really shaped who I was and like how I dealt with like my like very if yeah,
I think I that's amazing. I
yeah,
love that. But yeah,
yeah.
that's cute.
Comment below your childhood media that really shaped you. I really like to know. And comment below what channel you feel like you were. I know Canada has weird channels that the US doesn't get.
Yeah, we had YTV instead of like
It
Nickelodeon.
was YTV. What's on YTV?
Basically the same things that Nick it was like basically a mix between Nickelodeon and what does YTV stand for? Yeah, I don't have no idea what it stands for.
YTV.
But anyways, it's basically a mix between Cartoon Network, which we didn't have, at least when I was growing up, and Nickelodeon. We had Nickelodeon, but I don't think it was like we had Nickelodeon shows, but
We
you
did
would
like
see
iCarly.
iCarly on YTV, you would see Sam and Cat on YTV, Victorious, like things like that.
Yeah, like just those
Yeah.
straight up Nickelodeon shows. I wonder why. Like you guys.
I don't know. We also didn't have Disney Channel. It wasn't called Disney Channel. It was called the Family Channel.
I feel like Disney's like a big enough company.
Canadian lore. So I think it exists now. Like Disney Channel exists here now. But when I was growing up, it was Family Channel because it was like a Canadian broadcast. I feel like knowing Canada, I feel like there was a bigger push to have a Canadian based there
Thing.
was like show hosts in between, like especially
Oh.
on YTV. On YTV, there was a show host who was actually a very famous drag queen who won the first season of Canada's Drag Race. Love Priyanka. Shout out Priyanka.
Love you for
But but like YTV, yeah, had a host in
oh,
between
yeah.
episodes of like whatever show that was going
That's
on.
crazy. That's cool.
It's fun. It's fun. Mhm.
We I think the closest I've ever gotten to that, and this isn't even close at all, it's just like that these channels used to play like very specific bumpers. This was specifically like Cartoon Network and Boomerang, which is from Cartoon Network. It's like the same channel essentially. Um, and they would just do very unique like bumpers between each show and like commercial runs that were very specific.
Oh
There's no like
yeah.
a guy. That's crazy. I kind of love that.
I
Good for
remember
Bianca.
when, like, I don't know if you guys had this on Disney Channel, but on Family Channel, we had it was basically Disney, right? But we had, like, in between shows, there was a segment where they would play music
Yeah,
videos
yeah, we
that
had
were,
that.
like, of Disney
Yeah,
kids,
we had that.
and it's so funny because they totally stole that from MTV, but they made it
But, like,
G-rated,
if you're gonna,
so
like also remember they would do, like, covers of other, like, like, I remember a whole music video with Mickey and Minnie, doing what's that song called that's
Oh.
like oh, it's like oh, now I can't think about it, this is embarrassing, and it's a song that's like a Goo Dolls, but I don't know what song. Damn. Yeah, I'm never gonna know, but I remember because it was old, like, old 1920s Mickey and Minnie, like, cartoons singing like, not they weren't singing it, it was just, like, their footage played over this song, but it, like
Do, do,
oh,
do,
what was
do,
it?
do.
Goo Goo Doll I don't know. It was
The
like
do, 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 do. That
oh,
thing?
like, I
Or,
got
like,
the
where he's
music
like
in me. Dun, 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 dun.
oh, got
Talking
it.
about okay, thank God, because that was a really
Yeah.
bad version of it.
I've never seen that, but I know that
Yeah,
song, so
and so that was, like, on Disney Channel a lot. They did a lot of, like I remember when the Tinker Bell movie came out, they played this Selena Gomez song everywhere, and I ate it up.
and I ate it up, and I ate it
To
up.
you are Yes, ma'am. Same with the Cruella de Vil I was just also a big Selena Gomez kid, so, like, anytime
Well,
they
yes.
put her on screen, I was sad. So,
You're like
totally perfect. Yeah, basically. And because she was friends with I was a big Swiftie as a kid, she was friends with Taylor Swift, so of course. Of
so
course,
you're
that's
like,
my
"Absolutely."
loyalties lie. Are they still friends? Do you know?
Taylor Swift and Selena
Yeah.
Gomez?
Are they still
That's a
friends?
crazy question. Yeah, they're still
But the
it's actually
friendship's
not that
good.
crazy, but, like, it's like they are the best friends. Like,
Good.
they are, like
Good. Just
yeah,
they
they
just feel
lasted.
whole. Good. I would be really upset if they weren't actually. I think that would actually really hurt my inner child.
I could give you so much lore on their
You
friendship,
should.
but I'll do it after the pod.
Now I really wanna
The listeners don't need to hear
I
about
need
my
to know
obsession with
from,
Taylor
like
Swift.
I wanna say up to 2015 is kind of when I, like, fell off the Taylor bandwagon, unfortunately. I'm really sorry, everybody.
Boo,
I know, I'm
tomato.
really
You should
sorry.
get back
I
on it.
just I g went through a big emo phase. Really hard.
Well, let me tell you, Tortured Poets Department
I
is a great
know.
emo
We've talked
album,
about it. We've
but in
talked
a
about
different
this.
way.
Yeah, we've talked about this. If there was, like, a Swiftie podcast, that would be funny. That'd
Yeah.
be funny. Alright,
Alright.
let's get into sermon studies. Aggressively says that now.
Mhm, mhm.
So, what's your sermon study, Bear?
I think so something I've been watching, sermon studies basically are things that, like, we've been watching or, like,
You.
creating or just doing, just doing, in general that we wanna mention, shout out onto the pod. Just, like, something in the week that we want to talk about. And, this week I got back into a show called Industry. It's on I think it's on HBO in the US. It's on Crave in Canada. Industry is basically a show where you follow a ton of, like, finance bros, but, like, there are 2 women and 2 men. Um,
Vibe shift. Okay.
so yeah, there are 2 women and 2 men, and you follow them, into the world of, like, trading, of, like, stock trading, and, they work at, like, a big bank, and it's basically, like, how I think at this point, I'm on season 3, it's like, how badly can they up their lives and still make money while doing it,
That's
you
crazy.
know?
It's like
Yeah. It's
patriarch
I can't tell if
yes spin-off.
I can't tell if I like the show or not because for me, I need characters to have some redeeming qualities about them and,
Yeah,
like,
they're just, like,
sometimes
finance
make the right
bros.
decision.
Yeah, like, if they're just
Yeah.
finance bros making finance pro decision.
And, like, I worked in banking for 3 years, which isn't a lot of time, but, like, it's basically from
And
like,
that
I did economics, data analytics in school,
change
right?
everything.
5 years, and then I did 3 years of banking, of being a banker. So I am a finance bro, but
Women
it's
in
just
male fields.
why are you making such terrible decisions? You're making such bad decisions,
What
like,
are the bad decisions
stop.
that they make? I wanna know.
Like, they will go out on, like, a Wednesday night, like, stay up until genuinely, like, until the sun comes back up. They're doing coke, they're
Oh
drinking,
my
they
gosh.
are, like, doing, like,
Shit.
a crazy amount of drugs and all these things, and then they're going to, like, have sex with their coworkers,
Oh,
and
with
then
your
they go
coworkers,
back to
bro.
work the next day.
That's like square one. We learned that on our first restaurant job. What are we talking about, bro? What are we fucking doing? Like,
Oh,
the
no, for
coke,
real.
okay, I guess. I'm not in finance. I don't know the culture. Literally, like, if when somebody smokes weed in front of me, I'm like, "Oh, great, have it."
Like,
As
"Gotta be
someone
cool, gotta be cool,
who
gotta be
also
cool."
used to smoke weed, like, "Oh, great heavens indeed." Like, I cannot be cool about it. As said, when I went on a work trip, I got super awky because I had to, like, drink with my coworkers, and I didn't know that was allowed. That's crazy.
Yeah, like, it's just they make terrible decisions, and,
When I go to work the
I
next
am very
day,
proud of myself. I
you
watched
did
this
not do
show.
coke.
Now that too, yeah, as a banker, I did not do coke. But, I watched the show before or, like, while I was, like, starting out in my, like, banker era, and, 3 years after, I'm, like, continuing watching the show, and I understand everything that they're talking about, even though I wasn't a day trader, like, I wasn't a trader on the floor, on the stock market floor, I still
You just
understand what
don't
they're
know
saying,
shit
and I'm
'cause
like,
you're the
"Wow,
smartest woman
I learned
alive.
so much."
You're actually a genius. You're actually a girl genius.
Anyways, what's your sermon
Oh
study?
my god, no, that's a really good sermon study. Mine is also a show. I feel like this is almost like an anti-sermon study because I genuinely don't think anybody should actually watch this, but on Hallmark Plus, which is
I
already
already love this.
which is already a streaming service no one but my mom has. So context, I guess. I knew this girl, and by girl, she was a grown-ass woman when I met her. I was 18 and she was, like, 26. I was, like, freshly 18 too. Girl gave me Fireball in a hotel room. Shout out. Love her. She was dating my, like, pastor's son at the time, who was also 26, and they had, like
Scandalous.
yeah, I know, it was crazy, and they, like, had just come back from Canada, and she was, like, a literal, like, basically, like, the Kardashian of this hometown, like, everybody else is in, like, jeans and t-shirt awe, and she, like, has lip filler, like, we were all, like, shooketh. Like, we couldn't handle it, and she gave me Fireball when I was 18, and I
Icon.
threw it up because I flew up.
Oh.
But, like, I've always said I think she should be on Love Island. She and I don't talk anymore. We've not talked for years, but I follow her on Instagram. And I'm like, "No, she's like a Love Island girly." Like, she just has that aura about her. She's on this show, and it's called Second Chance Love or some
Oh my
yeah,
god.
and so
She's on
she's
it?
on it, and she posted it on her Instagram, and I was like, "Oh, well, I have to tell everybody that I know."
Well,
I
yes.
must tell everybody that I know that this girl that I interacted with once when I was 18 is on that show.
That's
And the
crazy.
concept is
What's the show
okay,
about?
it's wild because it's the worst show imaginable. The concept is these, like, couples, right? You as a contestant can invite your ex to go on this island in Italy. And the whole concept is that, like, you have to see if you guys are compatible and if you get together. It's the most Hallmark show though because nothing fucking happens. There's really no
Oh.
challenges. Like, you know how Love Island has, like, challenges and stuff like
Yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah.
And Love Island has, like, you can get eliminated. There's even the thing of, like, you can win. Nobody wins. There's really no challenges. Nobody gets eliminated. You're not allowed to, like, I'm assuming, date the other contestants. Like, you have to kind of just be with, like, the person that you invited. And this is not the girl that I know, but there's one couple, and I think about them all the time because they didn't even date. They went on one date, and the guy's like, "Yeah, I really feel a connection with her, and she's just not." into him. It's so juicy. Their interactions are so good because every time he's like, "I just really feel like a future with this girl," and she's just like,
Oh my god.
he's like, no, and it's so good. So the girl that I know is on it, with some guy that she knew in high school, whatever. He is kind of a mediocre white man. Sorry if you ever hears this. I'm sure he's lovely. My little brother, who is the biggest mediocre white man, walked in and went, "Who's this fucking guy?" So, that is Second Chance at Love or whatever. I really don't recommend anybody watches it unless you just wanna
That's
go
so funny.
it feels like you go to, like, Christian camp, right? Like, they're not, like, sleeping with each other, the rooms are separated by, like, boy, girl,
Yeah.
virtually nothing happens, it's all, like, really weird contrived drama, and it's so good. I watched, like, all the episodes that are out. So watch that, or don't care.
Love that. Love that. I love trashy television.
But it's not,
It's
like,
so nice to
trashy, like,
turn
that's
your
the
brain
thing,
off.
though, is it's, like, my mom's like, "No, it's just really, like Hallmark's really wholesome," and I'm like, "I guess, but this is competing against, like, every other this is, like, essentially supposed to be like The Bachelor or Love Island, like, it's coming up
Right.
against all these other dating shows that have, like, actual stakes and drama, like, that's why people watch those shows, and this is just Christian church camp. Like, it's they don't even cuss, like, it's crazy.
That's
It's the most
insane.
wholesome shit I've ever
Oh
seen,
my
and my
gosh.
mom was,
That's so
like,
cute.
baffled that I was questioning it, and it's crazy, it's really good.
And you love it, and you
I
eat it
do,
up.
I do. Shout out girl that I know. I hope she wins, I guess.
Yeah.
Hopefully her and her old ex she didn't go on with the guy that she dated when I knew her,
Got it.
but I wonder if she's talked about him a couple times because she's brought some stuff up and I was like,
Oh. You're like, "Oh,
she coulda been on but she didn't invite me, and I think that's rude.
dang. What the heck?"
We had no
You shared
romantic
such an
interaction.
intimate moment.
Yeah, we had no I don't even think she remembers my name. Interesting. So, guys, I think that's it for the week.
Amazing.
Mhm.
Alright.
We
We'll
did
see you
that.
next week.
See you, babes.
Bye.
Mwah.